Hello, hello, everybody. Another beautiful Wednesday here in St. Louis, Missouri, and Sacramento, California.
It's
And
not
we're
beautiful here at all, Josh.
oh, that's right. It's not. It's
It's
snowing once
raining
again.
ice.
Yeah,
Well, at least we have the beauty here. We just went for a long walk. It's cold, but it's very pretty outside. But we're in the 40s in California,
yeah,
so
There we
it's
go.
yeah.
it's
Well,
cool.
I feel like we're rounding the corner after this one, though. I mean, we've got only a few more weeks, maybe, till the weather perks up here in St. Louis, and I'm looking forward to it because my skin is ghostly white at this point. And I look at pictures of myself from this past summer when I had a really nice tan going. I was, I mean, having a pool at our house is very helpful for maintaining the tan. And then, when you're out and about with other people who don't have such luxuries as Tim and I do, Tim also has a pool at his house. You think, why are you so white? And they don't have any excuse.
I take the I'll be the pale white paper white skin representative on this because I don't have a pool. And you know what? I wanted to buy a pool. I almost bought a pool.
Yeah.
Right at the beginning of like all the COVID stuff and everything,
Yeah.
the prices went stupid. But my neighbors, became friends with my neighbors, and they all have pools. They're all like, "Don't! You can just use our pool,
Yeah.
like whenever you want,
Yeah.
because
That's
it's."
nice. That's
So
nice.
I
Yeah.
still would like to
But
have my own.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Walking into your own backyard's just a little bit better. It's than going to can I use your pool? But it's
Especially being at home by myself. Like, so my neighbor across the street, I'm good friends with him and his wife. She works from home.
Yeah.
I can't, I would love to be like on a Monday at like
Yeah.
11 a.m. just to go swim for
Yeah.
15, 20 minutes. I can't
Yeah.
just go. I'd feel weird
No.
right
No.
outside her window, just like doing laps.
Well, yeah, and
Are you
also
still
like you
on
want
the-
to, what I like, what we really like a lot is like after dinner with the kids. You're like, sometimes you're like, what are we gonna do with these kids now? It's like let's just go in the pool for a little while. And like that kills like an hour of the night. It's nice.
Yeah.
You can't go across the street to your neighbors with your kids on a whim.
Well, that's what they're saying we can, but
Yeah.
I don't. I do from time to time. When they go out of town, it's nice.
You
'Cause now
start
I'm
doing
just-
that, and that friendship's gonna go downhill.
I mean, they're like begging me to do it, dude. Like,
Maybe if you wore the Speedo, she might invite you over more often. Just a thought.
Yeah.
I don't. First off, I don't have a Speedo body, but if I did, and that's why she wanted me over there, then I want no part of that, brother. I
Well,
want
you
no part of
know,
that.
this is a body positivity kind of culture now, though, Ryan. So don't,
Okay, that's
don't
right.
sell yourself short.
That's right. So
I
never
think you
mind.
look
Maybe
funny.
yeah, I'll do some photo shoots then,
Hmm.
and really show off the curves.
Yeah, maybe that'll be your new LinkedIn profile pic.
No, I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
I can't imagine something. I can't imagine any. There are very few things that sound less fun than walking around in a Speedo in front of a bunch of people. I feel like I would just be uncomfortable and stressed out the whole time,
Yeah,
and
I would
I
be
couldn't
too.
do it.
I
'cause
couldn't
there's
do
like
it
a-
either.
There's like a video going viral of this dude being like, "I think every man should have to wear a Speedo to a beach one time," and he has a whole reason why, but it doesn't matter. But so it cause people to talk about it a lot. I do. No, if you want to wear one, sure. Like I don't care,
Mhm.
but I'm not. I have zero interest in that. I'm not. It's not like a shame thing where I'm like, man, I really wish I could just be in a Speedo. It's like, no, I just don't want to be in a Speedo in front of a bunch of
I don't
people.
want you to be in one either, to be honest with you, man.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. Thanks for backing me up on this.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
I get it though, man. I even feel weird. Like we'll have my wife's family over, and I always feel weird taking off my shirt in front of her mother and her sister. I'm like, I don't know why. I'm like, oh, look at me and all the tattoos, and
there are weird Speedo people too. Like I've been around multiple of them. I've been at a thing on a beach where some dude was wearing a Speedo,
Yeah.
and they were very upset. Like that's all they wanted to talk about is how they're so comfortable in a Speedo compared to everyone else and how they should wear Speedos. It's like they're trying to adopt more Speedo users. And I just thought that was odd because who gives a shit?
I just don't think it's a very pleasant look for most guys. Like, I've
No.
seen some good looking gentlemen out there, and I'm like, all right, that works all right for you, I guess. But most guys there's like hair coming out of the Speedo, and like, it's
Yeah.
not.
In high school,
yeah, you don't
No.
want to.
in high school, there was a I played football, and there in the summer we would go work out, and then we'd have to like run essentially on the track, like sprints on our track around the football field.
Yeah.
And we were doing that, and it was hell. And they were like, do high knees and say, all this stuff that you do. There was a guy in which the field's open for people if they want to like use it for whatever. There was a guy who was just doing like running up and down the bleachers in just a Speedo. And then, which is like, okay, that's super weird, but like there's a football practice going on here. And then he just like laid to tan himself on the bottom bleacher. So right where we're running, like running right past this dude, just laying there in a Speedo, getting tan. And eventually one of our coaches was like, dude, you can be here, but you're being weird. I want you to leave as like a man. Like, just get out of here. You're distracting everyone and you're being strange. And so there was like a whole argument about it with this guy, and then he left begrudgingly. But like, what are you doing, man?
And
like,
it turned out that was Ryan's dad.
That was my dad, dude. You don't want to see him in a Speedo, I'll tell you that.
Well, in other news, we had a Super Bowl this last Sunday. How'd you guys enjoy the game?
I didn't.
Honestly, immensely. I loved it because I was rooting heavily against the Chiefs because there was too much talk of Mahomes being in Tom Brady category. So I wanted to shut that shit down. And I think it was completely shut down. And as a football fan, when somebody, I said it to, I was at a little party, maybe, a dozen people.
Yeah.
And after each team's first drive, I said, oh my God, I think this game's over. And people are like, you're nuts. I'm like, it just feels so dominant on both sides of the ball. And sure enough, couple of stats. The Chiefs' longest drive in the first half was 4 plays, 1 first down, and they never made it past their own 40-something yard line in the entire first half. It was just, So I enjoyed it, but sometimes
that's why I didn't enjoy it.
Well, if it's a team I want to win, I like a slaughter. I like humiliation in my sports when I'm rooting the way I'm rooting. So I love to see. I like to watch the agony on the faces and the misery, especially I do enjoy it.
I thought it was enjoyable too, just because it never felt like, even at the first half, I mean, it was such a domination. But like, honestly, we've seen a lot of games this year where the Chiefs did not play well in the first half, and then they came back in the second. It was like almost all of their games. It felt like that's what they did. So you were still like into the game because of that. And then in the third quarter, it became evident that that was not going to happen. But I don't agree that it shut down the conversation about Brady. And I could care less if Mahomes or Brady, whatever. It'll be hard for him to get as many Super Bowl wins. But he's been in the Super Bowl all but 1 year that he's been a quarterback in the NFL. So, like, he's up there in the conversation for sure.
Yeah. I mean, his Super Bowl numbers, though, I mean, I think I saw him the other day. He's something like, I think he's 7 touchdowns, 7 interceptions in his Super Bowl history. So his numbers are not, amazing. He's got, he has, So we'll see.
The thing I hear about Brady it was like his first few Super Bowl wins, they were like, he was kind of a game manager. That was but then in his later years, he was like, the Brady that he became. So Mahomes still got so many years left. So many.
He does. He's got, he could have a decade left if his body stays all right. So we'll see. It's funny. I felt all year long this was the Chiefs team we were going to get, and every time I was wrong. But finally in the Super Bowl, just because even in their first playoff game, if you saw them, I mean, they were dominated by the Houston Texans. I mean, just dominated. They were. I don't even know how they pulled that thing off.
Yeah. But, well, that was the same thing where it was they came back in the second half.
And CJ Stroud is terrible. He's just not very good.
Well, here's the thing too that was so impressive with the Eagles was that they didn't rush a single time, but yet those front four were all over them. Like that was like unprecedented, and it was unexpected because you saw the Eagles almost lose to the Rams 2 weeks prior or whatever in that snow game.
Yeah,
and
could have
lost that game. Yeah. And so then to this game, it's like, that's the thing. And with the NFL, you don't know what to expect from week to week, because I would say in my mind, I was like, well, are the Chiefs that much worse than the Rams? Probably not. The Eagles just showed up.
Yeah.
That was.
It was just.
I agree with Tim though. Like, there was like after a couple drives, I was like, ooh,
Yeah.
this is gonna get really ugly. And I know they can
Yeah.
come back, but it was like, during the second half, I wanted there to be some drama. It was just kind of like watching somebody.
Well, that's where
beat up by
gambling
their older
comes into
brother.
play.
Yeah.
So, I had different
gambling. I
little
didn't
bets
gamble.
of certain yardage.
Chiefs got some points in the second half, but it was all just garbage time pretty much at that point.
Garbage time. Yeah. I mean, it was 36-7 mid-fourth quarter, and they got 2 late touchdowns or whatever.
Yeah.
In fact, if they had made that first 2-pointer when they scored a touchdown, I would have hit a $200 square.
Oh,
but no.
Man, that could have got you out of a couple
point
jams.
Right?
Would have been nice, though.
Right?
Yeah, that would have been nice. No, but
Well, my wife got this really cool square thing that I've never heard of. Not the regular squares. So this square is $200 a square, and every single score change, including extra points, it pays out $200. So it's $5,000 for 100 squares, and then in the end, whatever's left over goes to the final score. So
nice. Well, it's going to be,
and the final score, of course, was 2. The final score, 40-22, so 0-2. I had 0-2 the opposite way. It would have been like a $3,000.
Damn.
Of course.
Well, maybe next year, buddy.
What can you do?
But it's going to be a lonely few months here with no football, unless you're going to watch the Battle Hawks of the UFL.
Will be.
For everybody else, it's going to be. What do we got now? 8 months till it kicks back up again. 6 months.
Yeah, first week in September.
It's
really is the first real game preseason.
I'll be honest.
It's a long.
I'm more excited about any of the Battlehawks games than I was probably for any NFL game this year.
Yeah, you love it
because I have a team to root for. Like, I like college football in the UFL now. I have a team to root for.
Yeah. All right. Well,
and I assume this is the St. Louis Battlehawks.
St. Louis Battlehawks, bro, and they are and honestly, it's gotten really fun just because the Rams left and everyone's upset about it here, and so now like. There's like this huge pride that we have like way more attendance than anyone else. At least we're getting like 35,000 people to show up to a UFL game when other teams are getting like 15. And it's just a bunch of people who want to party. And so it's real rowdy down there, like way more rowdy than Rams games were, like in a good way. There's not like fighting, but people are going nuts. And I would love to see some numbers of how many beers they're selling at the game compared to a Rams game. I feel like it's got to be equal with half the people there. Because shit is wild watching these zombies walk around there after the third, like in the third quarter. Their people are tore up.
What is there, like 10 teams in the league or something? How many teams are in this league?
I can't remember if they had one. I haven't paid close attention to the league stuff as much, but yeah, there's like 10. There's like seeing it. The Birmingham, Alabama was won 3 years in a row. They're the actual Chiefs.
Really?
They've won 3 straight years.
Well, the Battlehawks got to clean up that defensive line. They've had issues all last year, and
Wow. Well, guys, speaking of people going wild, we have this week sharing with our Substack community a resource from one of the former investors of my last company, Liam Austin, who's been a friend of mine for a long time. We've done a lot of stuff together in business, and he has started a new company called Talks.co, which is a platform for helping people get connected with podcast hosts. So if you're an entrepreneur or a consultant or a speaker or an expert or anybody who is interested in getting on more podcasts as a guest to get more exposure in front of new audience, create more marketing assets, his platform helps you basically get into a directory and you can reach out to podcast hosts and different things like that. And I'm a big believer of it because, when we were growing our businesses and, building our list and just hammering away on marketing in every direction, I probably did like over 100 podcasts in the few years that I was doing that stuff more regularly. And, so I'm a huge believer in it. And the cool thing about what we're sharing this week, so go to our Substack if you missed it, but there's a free podcast pitch template that is essentially kind of like an email swipe file of what to say to pitch yourself or your business to different podcasts. And I mean, we all know now podcasts have kind of skyrocketed, taken off. More people, I mean, there's many, many, many podcasts now that like have far greater viewership on every single episode than like the number of people who watch CNN, right? So like more people get their information and pay attention to that stuff than the old school BS traditional media anymore, which is, you know, it's powerful. And in the business world, you know, it's actually pretty easy to kind of leverage that. And there's so many podcasts out there that are looking for people to be guests and stuff. So anyways, go to our Substack, check out the thing that I sent out yesterday about that. And there's a link there to go get the template for free. And Liam, if you read my message on Substack, you'll see towards the bottom, there's also a little link to set up a free account, which I think is like, it's a free account. You've got some like, you know, some limits on what you can do, but it gives you a chance to use it and see if you like it without paying anything for it, which is pretty neat too. So you guys listen to a lot of podcasts?
I do listen to some, not a lot. But I wanted to say Liam's just
Liam rules.
guy.
I love
I've
Liam.
worked
I was
with
waiting
him
to
as
say
well.
that too. He's one of my favorite people that I've met over the years that I don't know, that I didn't know going in, but he's great.
And you know, he lives on a little island, at least he did when I was talking to him a lot, a little island off of the boot of Italy called.
He's always somewhere new. Every
I
time
know. I was about to say, by this time next week, he won't be there. He'll be somewhere else. That dude moves we could never send him gifts. We used to always have to send him gifts.
He probably wears a Speedo.
Yeah. Liam would guaranteed wears a Speedo. Liam, if you watch this.
It's that European style.
Yeah.
He was a former professional. Wasn't he a professional soccer player as well? I believe, right? Back in the day.
I haven't heard that. No. Now you're just making shit up.
Yeah, I think he was.
He's fun to drink beers with. I know that.
I
think when I saw that, I was super excited. I think this thing's really cool. I like, you know, to be able to connect with people, especially if you're looking like you just want to get going and get into a rhythm with podcasts. Cause I've thought about doing that too. Yeah. Get into a rhythm with like being guests on people, even if it's smaller shows, just to kind of get used to going out there and talking and building relationships with the host there. Cause they know a ton of people, and anybody that listens to their show knows people. And just like the more you talk to people about what you do and the, you know, content around what you do, the better things will end up, you know, happening, the more opportunities, definitely more opportunities than if you didn't.
Yeah. And when we were doing it back then, you know, the platform like Talks didn't exist, which is what Liam's business is, Talks.co. And so there was an agency that we hired that I used to do outreach and get me booked on podcasts. And that was great. But now with something like Talks.co, the pricing is, I was really surprised at how cheap it was. And I told Liam that too. You know, right now for the pro account, you can get it for $150 a year. And that gives you 30 outgoing connections a month. So you know, this is basically going to handle your outreach and prospecting for podcast opportunities and give you all the contacts you need. And, you know, the whole platform's there. And all sorts of other stuff too, that I'm not going to get into. But anyways, pretty unbelievably priced program. And so yeah, we're recommending everyone check that out if you need more podcast opportunities. Liam's been really generous in promoting my stuff over the years and investing in my last company and other things. So when he told me what he was up to, I was like, yeah, sure, I'll share it with my peeps. So there you have it.
Hey, Josh, are those 30 people, are they 30 podcasters? So in other words, you're getting 360 new podcasters in a year, basically?
That is my understanding. Yes, those are 30. It says 30 outgoing connections a month. So those would be outreaches to people who have podcasts and are looking for guests. Yeah. Yeah.
Pretty amazing.
It's a lot. So you could easily drum up. Look, there's only so many podcast interviews you can do before you'd be like, I'm spending half my time like in podcast interviews, which maybe that's a good use of your time right now. Maybe that's too much, but like for me, you know, I think doing like a couple a month is a nice rhythm, and then you're knocking out like 20 a year at that pace, you know? So it's, That's great. And the thing I think is best about it too is podcasts can be used really kind of strategically in your marketing and sales funnels. And that, yeah, you want to get in front of other people's audiences, and hopefully people will listen to the podcast that didn't know you before and then go follow your work. Or if at the end of the podcast you give away a free lead magnet, it can lead people to go opt in, get deeper into your business, into a sales funnel, if you will. But then you also want to be thinking about, when you're doing podcast interviews, like, how can I use this in my own marketing and sales process? So maybe, in other words, it gives you content to promote to your list and your existing audience as well. And we all know that it's always a bit of a hamster wheel coming up with new content and stuff, but being like, oh, I was just interviewed on the such and such podcast last week. Check it out. Here it is. I talk about this, this, and this. It's an easy thing to send to your list and get people listening to your message over and over again. And, sending out stuff like that, every once in a while is good value add for your community. So
it's a good, like, I mean, not that if someone's on your list that you really need a huge credibility boost, but if you're constantly posting that people want to talk to you, I mean, it looks good compared to just telling people, like if you're every, a couple weeks or every week saying like, hey, look, I've this person talked to me, and sharing it out, reinforcing your messaging, but also being like, I'm important enough for people to want to talk to. And, there's some benefit there too. And,
if you want to have your own podcast, you can use this platform as an easy way to get more and more guests. So a lot of cool things happening with that. I wanted to also touch on one other thing we've been doing recently. We wrapped up about 10 days ago. We wrapped up our promotion for our new evergreen version of LinkedIn Accelerator. We did a big discount for a limited time. Now it's at the normal price, and had a bunch of new people sign up to be a part of the Accelerator. Tim's been taking calls with these folks, as there's a lot of one-on-one time as part of the program. How's it going so far, buddy?
Yeah, so far so good, Josh. I've had first of all, I've got a ton of bookings, and I've done the first few calls, and I will say I think 3 or 4 calls I've done this week, and every single call I've done, and I want to say it very politely in case these people are listening, but the headlines needed some work. They really did. And most people's headlines, and I'll share this with something we do in the class, I kind of wrote down, and so many profiles, I had no idea who they served. I had no idea how they did it. And then the most important part at the end is I had no idea what the benefits are of working with them. So we've completely gutted their profiles, especially the headline. So what we're really doing here in this program, this is just stage 1, what we're doing, which is where everybody is right now, is we're going to make their headline actually speak to their prospects. So when they go to do a connection, the first thing they're going to see is, oh, he or she helps people just like me. And what we're going to be doing by that, we're going to get their connection rate up to that, that close to that 40% area. And so many of these folks that I've talked to, I mean, they're connecting, they were like, that 10, 15%. That's going to almost triple in this program. So this is what we're doing in stage 1 right now. And it's working great because people are getting those connection requests now, and people actually know a little bit what they do and why they should connect with them. Before it was like, head of engineering, that's it. No, we had no idea. So going great, wonderful people we got, and can't wait to see them through the whole thing over the next few calls.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So for anyone who needs more leads and clients, LinkedIn's a great place to do it. We got a good program for it. You can sign up anytime and work with us and Tim at your own pace too, which is nice with the evergreen version. You don't have to attend any live classes. You can just work through the process at the pace and timing of your choice.
Yeah. And then the other thing to say is, we teach them this is something they've got to do, at least 4 days a week, like a Monday through Thursday. I'm encouraging, just work on this for, 30 minutes a day, 3 or 4 times a week, and you'll be fine. And you're going to have those 100 new prospects every month. So that's what I'm drilling in their head right now, early on. So that's all I got.
Man. Good deal. We appreciate it, buddy. Ryan, you had something cool that you brought to the agenda for today about how ChatGPT search reshaping the B2B buyer's journey. And that's interesting to me because I haven't read the piece here. I'll let you talk about it, but it's like, wonder how that's happening.
Okay, so yeah, here's why I brought it up. First of all, I saw, and I wish I had this pulled up. There was something that went like, I don't know, when I say viral, and this it's like marketing viral, like in the marketing community of people that talk about marketing online. So it's not really, but like someone shared I think it was someone from HubSpot too. They like shared their like search results or their traffic to their blog because they have an enormous blog with thousands and thousands of articles. They put out content every day and they dominate search results. They have since I've been doing marketing. You know, they crush it. They're like, since ChatGPT search came out, which means you can search, which means like you can use ChatGPT and it searches the actual internet for you in real time instead of coming up with stuff that's in its knowledge base or using outdated information. Their traffic dropped something crazy like 60% on their website. And so that caught my attention last week. And then today I was looking up, this is like this morning, I was looking up something that caught my eye on this martech.org website. And then this was their top like trending article. So I read it and I really, it's been a focus of mine for a client that I'm working with. We've been talking about this anyway. And my own like kind of side project that I do is that, so ChatGPT search, I mean, the article kind of goes through it, but it's saying that like 90% of B2B buyers are using ChatGPT to research their tools now, and which is taking a lot of search away from your traditional search engines. So if you need like, let's just say you needed to find a text messaging tool for your business, you would, according to this study from Forrester, which is a legitimate source, 90% of the people are going to be using ChatGPT. What's happening is not every brand is like optimized for that. So like they're not going to be showing up in that search. And so a lot of what this article is just really like hyping up the current situation, whether this is like an opportunity for you or this is like a doomsday thing for you, depending on how you run your business. But the way that it's reshaping it and the argument that they're making is that you need to start optimizing your website and all of your content to be found using AI, like from AI search engines, because AI will source things and they will, in terms of content, and they will recommend products, but they're going to recommend products that they can easily find information on instead of like digging around forever. So that is like, in the way that you do it, I'm not going to go into all the details, but like it really talks about like how you need to be auditing for these AI powered tools. And the part that was interesting to me is that there's not like a clear answer. Like, dude, because I've been looking into this. There's not like a clear answer of like, here's how you do it. There's a bunch of different criteria since AI can work so quickly that impacts what information that they scrape from the internet, essentially. And so whoever can crack this code first is probably going to crush it for a while. Which is
interesting though, because like the way a normal search engine works is it's basically crawls the internet and updates on a very regular basis so that it's got really new results, and they've gotten like, it's almost instant now, right? Like that, in the past it was like, it took a while, and you'd click on things that were like outdated, or like if something gets published today, it wouldn't really show up on Google for a while, but now it's like much faster. Right. And I don't even know if I don't even know if the term like crawler is even still, a term that's used, but you would think that the ChatGPT search would work in the same way, so it is interesting to think about, like, I wonder what would be different about what you would need to do on your website. Why wouldn't it find your website in the same way that Google has for all these years,
It uses different criteria. So like one of the things, because I actually asked ChatGPT that exact same thing. I was like, so what's different? Like, let me find a thing.
And it said D's nuts.
It said D's nuts, boy. Yeah. No, like it doesn't use. Okay, so it says like, I asked a question. It's like, do you think my question isn't exactly that, but do you think it's important for smaller businesses who struggle to rank in search already, as is like large brands, But one of the things that I mentioned in there was it has these like ways to find like authority and like trust signals that are not like reliant on
Hmm.
old school SEO tactics like link building.
Right.
So it's using like, are you being mentioned by established? It's similar enough to link building. I don't know how it's different, but apparently it is.
Yeah.
Like if you're mentioned by rooters or like on really high ranking things, like even like having a lot of
Yeah.
discussions about you on Reddit or G2
Yeah.
if you're a software, that
Yeah.
kind of thing.
The link building thing has always been so such a funny thing. I mean, it wasn't that long ago that like you could just kind of manipulate search by getting links from lots of websites. It wasn't that hard to do, and then it's become much harder to do that kind of stuff. And it is interesting if that becomes obsolete, then it's like, oh, what do we do? It's like you just got to kind of run a good business and like create some buzz for yourself. I don't know,
Well, and a lot of it also is formatting your content
Sure.
in a very conversational way, because like AI is designed to be conversational. So if you like ask questions and they're like, instead of just using keyword stuffing, you're like,
sure,
what does this mean? What does blank keyword mean?
right,
And then put a detailed description. It'll show up in the search results.
Well, wow, yeah, that makes a lot of sense, and it's kind of similar to what's been going on now, or what's been going on for years with keyword research. Is like, what phrases are people typing in, and then I want to like emulate those searches on my website so that I'm showing relevant content for these different phrases and questions people are asking. But I'm sure it's a little bit different now, and this has got to be just a tremendous challenge now for any SEO marketing agencies. That's got to be really a paradigm shift for how this work is going to be done.
Yeah, they're just the smartest ones will be fine because they'll figure out what the next stage is. Sure. And like there are tools that evaluate your website, but they're bullshit. They're like meant for brands.
Yeah.
Like if it'll be like, what share of the marketplace do you have? Well, like probably none. Like, what do you mean? If you're a small business, you're not Microsoft, dude. Like, right. You know what I mean? Like, but if you could get like, let's just say when we created Connect 365, if we could get ourselves when somebody searches in like what cold email tool should I use? It would be a massive win. You know what I mean? Even if it's being compared to 15 other things, opposed to like the hundreds of tools that are not going to be listed at all. And so it's interesting in that sense because you can't just keep scrolling page to page on like a Google search to keep finding other options. It's going to give you a finite number.
Right. Interesting. Yeah. Cool. Tim, you got any thoughts?
Yeah, I really don't. I mean, some of this stuff is almost above my head, some of the ChatGPT as far as B2B, but my understanding here, Josh, you mentioned, so basically, how do you find what people are looking for in ChatGPT to know to add it to your site? Because you mentioned that, which I thought was a great idea. Research. Is there a way to keyword research?
I mean, there's tools, there's third-party tools that I'm sure are already on top of this, like Moz or what are the other ones? That was like SpyFu. There was a big one that it's on the tip of my tongue. I'm not thinking of, right? But there's all these tools that have all this data on that kind of stuff that can show you all sorts of stats on different keywords and phrases, and you can drill down on all that stuff in a lot of different ways, and even Google Analytics has a lot of that stuff in it. But I'm sure all that stuff is changing. Okay. I'm sure it's all changing, and I'm not an SEO guy, and I've stopped trying to be an expert on that topic a long time ago. So, might be interesting to bring on a guest someday to talk about what's changed in the world of SEO.
Who's been talking about it a lot is Russ Henneberry. We could probably get him to come hang out.
Yeah.
And tell us he's all over LinkedIn about this. He's fired up about this.
About SEO with AI?
Just like all of the opportunities, specifically AI search. It's not just SEO. Yeah. He talks about it a bunch. So he's
what's he doing? Is he still doing that email, the click or whatever?
He's got he's like doing an AI, like essentially
building software.
He's becoming like a thought. No, he's like creating like a community and programs around using AI for your business. Everything you need to know. So he's like geeking out on AI and then teaching people what everything means.
That's nice. Makes sense. That's a good niche to be in right now for sure. Cool. Another AI thing on the agenda today. This is interesting. Could have implications for a lot of people. But what's this copyright case all about, with Thomson Reuters winning the first major AI copyright case? So did AI steal some of their content, and then they were like,
Not quite, but it's like it's starting to like establish some like precedent. So let me
okay.
share. And I'm not a lawyer, and I'm probably gonna say some incorrect things, but this is my understanding of it.
But you play one on this show, don't you, right?
Yeah, I can pretend to be one, sure. Okay, so Thomson Reuters wins first major AI copyright case in the U.S. So what had happened was
yeah, this is what I just read it. That's what happened. They took some content and kind of used it as their own.
Yeah, but that's like a standard copyright thing. But apparently, just the fact that it's like getting this attention is going to cause a lot more of this. So the
well,
like,
they shouldn't be able to do that. The AI tools, they're just taking content from other people's websites and posting them, and sometimes they attribute it. But
they definitely shouldn't be able to do that, especially these like third party, like non-open source tools. Like if it's not open content, like in the public domain, then you shouldn't be able to use it. But like, so what, for anyone that doesn't know what happened, this company, Ross Intelligence, an AI like startup, they took all the content from it says like legal research from Westlaw. Apparently a bunch of like ruling, like all of the documentation from all these court cases and everything that they've manually compiled over the years, they've put it into a knowledge base that an AI can read. And which is just like stealing, and it's a direct competitor to them. It's just an AI version of it. And so they stole all of their content and then and made it look prettier.
Wow.
And
Bibas. I bought a car from a guy named Ike Bibas. He's the sales manager at Schicker Ford on Kings Highway. Anyway.
they could be related. But like what I think is going to be, this is going to be hugely important for people that are creating softwares. But like in terms of like the average user, the only thing I can really think about, or like a small business owner, is that like there's a chance that like the AI space becomes a little bit more expensive and fragmented because of this.
Mm-hmm.
Like we talked last time about like DeepSeek saying like price could come down. But like if this is like, there's like going to be a lot of value in people that have these huge data sets of this huge databases of information to license that material out to AI tools and not have to do anything. They have like put in all of this work over the last X amount of years, license it out, but it could cause prices to rise.
Look, if an AI tool is charging people for information and et cetera, and then the information they're giving people is taken from other websites and then given to those people for a fee, even if it is attributed, like the person that provided that content probably should be getting paid for that. And like, that would be like, we have this proprietary LinkedIn process, right? So like if the pro version of ChatGPT is scraping our data that we've put out to the world in the past, but charging a fee for it, well, maybe we should get a piece of that. Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see if it's ever like, if they differentiate what that means. Like if it's public information that's on a blog, can they use that? Or is it like, cause what I imagine with this, the equivalent of like our industry would be like, they bought our program, went in, took all of information, added it to a database. So then you just get that information for free.
Yes.
Like,
you can't do that though. You can't do that. If one of our customers bought our program, learned all the information, and then went over here and started selling it to people, we'd be like, no, that's not, you can't do that. Right.
So how do you get around that with AI? So in other words, could you, for example, what you just talked about, could you have an overview of highlights of our program? Would that be
possibly? I don't know. It sounds like a lot of this stuff is going to get worked out in the courts of how it's, what the rules are going to be around it.
And that's why this one's so significant. Because it's such a like a black and white, like obvious. Like this shouldn't have happened. Why would like there's no controversial ruling here, but it's just the first major one to like happen. And this is gonna happen like crazy. I mean, the lawyers are gonna make tons of money like in the next 5 years on this.
Yeah. Well, it's all interesting stuff for sure. One other thing that I threw on the list that is just a complete change of topic here. But my son earlier was like, what are you guys talking about on the show today? And I was like, I don't know. I haven't I haven't gone through the agenda. And he said, you should talk about steak because we had steak for dinner last night.
I love
And
it.
I was like, all right, let's do that. We haven't done that. And so I wanted to ask you guys, I wanted to see where you're at these days on what is your go-to cut of steak. If you're going to make a steak at home, what are you going with and why?
Who's starting? I know my answers right off the top of my head.
Well,
Okay.
yeah, same here. I am. In fact, I did it on Friday night. Had a dear friend of mine over from the East Coast, was in town for a couple of days. It was awesome. I bought grass-fed ribeyes, and I'm a big medium rare with the fat on it, if you will. Heavy seasoning of salt, pepper, a little chili powder,
Really hot.
and I cook it to about 130 degrees, just a little bit, and cook it to about 130 degrees. Let it rest for a while. It gets up into the high 130s, and that thing is beautiful, pink inside, and it's my go-to steak. 9 out of 10.
Wow,
times.
9 out of 10.
So,
Now, you like the grass-fed ribeye? Because oftentimes I find those to be a little bit not as
Leaner.
Yeah, a little leaner.
yeah, I mean, this thing still had plenty of non-lean parts, if you
Yeah,
will.
probably
So,
the ribeye would probably be actually
no.
pretty good because a lot of like non-grass-fed, which are corn-fed, I guess. A lot of ribeyes that you get at a normal grocery store, sometimes they're a little too rowdy. Like they're too rich. So a grass-fed ribeye might be like a nice little change up on that.
Yeah, we're just trying to, my wife's gotten on a kick since she retired. We're trying to go, mostly organic, grass-fed, all that kind of stuff. So she's done a lot of research on that. So now she's got me sold on it. So trying to, age
That's
gracefully,
nice, buddy.
I guess, whatever it is.
Well,
and it's only like $2 a pound. It was like non-grass fed's like 23, grass fed's 25, kind of thing. So it's not like dramatically more money.
Yeah.
Well,
now are we talking like a 1-inch stick or 1.5 or?
I usually buy about 1 pounders, and for me, that can be 2 or 3 meals. I don't eat ever whole steak, so it lasts for 2-3 days for me, so, which I love.
Ryan.
So how about you, Ryan? What you go to, buddy? I got a feeling you.
Oh, I know. Okay, there are 2 scenarios here though, because I will cook different steaks at home than I will buy at a restaurant.
Yeah.
Because I at a restaurant I'll get a thick ass ribeye because they crush it every time. Like if you go to a steakhouse, they're amazing at ribeyes. Every time I make it at home, it's not quite there. It's not quite what that was. Yeah,
Really?
like either I don't get enough like char on the outside, so there's not as much texture on the outside, and it's still good. The meat's cooked at the perfect temperature. Or like shit's going on. I got a bunch of kids around, and like I overcook it a little, and then I'm stressed out that everyone hates my food the whole time.
Yeah,
I'm cooking. Like if I have friends over and I cook a bunch of steak,
you gotta watch out.
I'll go medium rare, and like if it's a little higher than that, and I know everyone that over here is also medium rare people, I'm like bummed out, even if it's just slightly different. So, that's but if I'm at a restaurant where I'm going 100% going ribeye, maybe a filet if I'm feeling froggy. But at home, I like to cook bigger cuts of meat and slice it in strips. So like I love tri-tip. Like tri-tip's probably my favorite cut of meat to make at home. So like a tri-tip steak or a skirt steak. And I'll slice them like almost like a brisket, a little thicker than a brisket. So you don't take a steak, you take like a bunch of chunks of it, and then
how do you cook that tri-tip?
Depends how big it is, but like to me the key with it is I cook it faster. I don't like slow cook it at all. So I'll salt it up in the morning with like a salty, usually just some rub I have because I get them for gifts all the time. So it'll be like a salty ass like steakhouse rub. Do that either the night before or in the morning. Let it sit all day in the fridge, like getting bricked up with it, and then I'll cook it on each side until it hits like medium rare temperature, and but I'll cook it on kind of high heat. And main reason I do that is because I want that to be like basically burnt on the outside.
Yeah,
I love that charry, salty, like similar to almost like a fried turkey. You get a fried turkey with that on the outside, and you're like, that's what's up. The same thing with the steak.
Yeah,
slice it up. Key with that is tri-tip is just making sure you cut it right because sometimes the grain switches. You got to make sure you cut it against the grain. 100% with that, otherwise it's ass. And And the same skirt steak, it's like the same concept. It's just not everywhere in St. Louis has tri-tip.
Now the tri-tip is what's that normally? What's the average price on that? Like $12.99 a pound or something?
Something like that. It's like depends on like depends how much fat is on it, because I'll trim the fat cap completely off.
Yeah.
And
Now, is hanger steak different than tri-tip? Those are kind of similar, aren't they?
I've had hanger steak, but not enough to know.
I had one a couple weeks ago and it was amazing. And it had been in my freezer for a year. So I was like, I got to eat this now. And man, delicious.
I just searched hanger steak. I just typed in hanger steak, and it was the first result was, why is hanger steak so good?
Yeah. I'm thinking about
what's
what's that?
What's your go-to, Josh? And part 2 to this is I think we need Eddie to come up with a show topic.
Yeah.
Well, I'm enjoying.
Yeah, I might have to lean on him for that. He's gonna want to get paid though. He'll probably ask for $1 or $2.
Well, he's 7 now, so you know.
Yeah. He's big into doing chores these days. He doesn't really want to do things with me, but he's like, what chores you got for me and how much am I gonna get paid for it?
Oh my God, I have to like beg my kids to do it.
Oh,
yeah,
right.
he's trying to build up his savings. But the go-to steak in my house is a New York strip. But we go, I like to switch it up, change it up, do a porterhouse every once in a while. We had a T-bone last night. I had the hanger steak a couple weeks ago, as I mentioned, but the go-to is usually the New York strip. If you can find a New York strip that has some pretty good marbling in it, I think they're tough to beat. It's not as rich as a ribeye, maybe not as tender usually, but we really like them a lot. And I'll put like a little bit of this Andrea's steak sauce on it while it's on the grill. So it doesn't, if you tried it, it's not like a bunch of sauce on it or anything. It kind of like gets grilled out anyways, but it adds just a little. Sometimes you go to a really nice steakhouse and you're like, what they put on this steak? This is delicious. They're not just grilling the meat and throwing it on the plate. There's like some sort of a sauce on there, but it's not overdone if you do it right. Anyway, some places do that well. I try and do that well at our house, but yeah, we love the New York strip. There's a chop house here in town that has like a butcher attached to it, a little market, and they've got wet aged steaks that are like 30-day wet aged and pretty high quality. And they've got some amazing.
What is wet aged? I've never even heard of it. It's just in water.
It's
in a brine.
It's like in the blood and the juices. Honestly, I'm gonna fuck it up if I try and tell you what it is. I talked to their butcher about it up there once about like, what's this process? What wet aged versus And anyways, like, dry aged steaks often take on like a kind of a funky flavor profile. If you've had it before, they'll get like this earthy mushroom notes and stuff. It's not for everybody. I don't know. I'm not the biggest fan of a super dry aged steak. I'll take a little bit of it, but not like a 60-day dry age. It gets a little bit too far out there for me. But the wet age doesn't do that. These are they're high quality steaks, and we like the New York strips a lot.
So we got a good steak variety in this group. I like it.
Yeah, and we'll try the ribeyes too sometimes if they have them, but it's not a go-to for us here because it just sometimes Vic doesn't like how fatty they are, so I got to look for the right cuts. And they're kind
of grass fed. You might be a little bit better.
Grass fed might be, but they don't have that around here. I'd have to drive into St. Louis to the Whole Foods, which that's not happening.
See, it's like every store pretty much here has grass fed.
Yeah, the ones that aren't burnt down. See what I did there?
That's fair. That's fair.
Anyways, so the thing I was going to say though that I do like about ribeye is I find they're more forgiving on the grill. Ryan, you said you're afraid of overdoing them, but I find a lot of times with that fat content, even if they end up at a medium, it's still pretty tender and good. But with a New York strip, you got to really watch it. And I'm like the same way with you, where like I like to get that crisp on the outside. So I almost always do them on my Weber, and I'll throw the coals in there, and I'll throw them on there without putting the top on, so that those flames get going. Well, you got to keep an eye on it. It's usually only about 4 minutes on each side and they're done. Maybe a tad bit longer to get it just right. But, I'm not letting the flames roast them the whole time. I just want to, maybe a minute of the flames hitting them to get that, blackened up on the outside a little bit. It's nice.
One last key I'd like to share on a good steak before you're cooking it. My buddy talked me into this. So with a ribeye, I leave it out for about an hour, get it close to room temperature when I cook it. You can cook it.
Oh,
less,
yeah.
So.
Yeah.
So not right from the fridge to the grill.
The fridge to the grill is not the way to do it. No.
I also think you should season it the morning or the night before. I'm a huge believer in that. You put whatever seasonings you're gonna have, let it chill on that for a while, so you don't just burn it right off.
Know each other.
And but yeah, I will recommend anybody who's listening to that, or you guys, next time you're having a party where people are coming over and you want to cook some sort of steak-ish thing, like especially if there's gonna be a bunch of people, make a bunch of tri-tip, slice it up into slices, and just leave it on a cutting board and let people pull it off there. And it's a good time.
Well, we got to get to the song of the day today because we didn't get to it last time. But real quick, what are your main go-to sides that you serve with these steaks?
Oh, yeah.
I
like a garlic mashed potato.
Okay.
What were you saying, Ryan?
I have two things that I like on everything. One of them, I wish it was just like more culturally appropriate to have with steaks at nice restaurants, is French fries. I fucking love French fries. Get them soaked up in that juice. Get out of town. That and then like baked mac and cheese. So mac and cheese with like the breadcrumbs on top, that you put in the oven in like a casserole dish. That and a salad. You get like Caesar salad, mac and cheese.
You gotta have a salad. Yeah, you gotta have a salad. That way you feel like you're being remotely healthy while you're eating the big fat.
It's like, and if I'm gonna add one more in there, there's some other kind of green. Like I would add Brussels sprouts, would probably be my top. Roasted, Brussels sprouts.
Nice. Yeah. Ours is mac and cheese, a couple different varieties that we usually like to do. I got like a kind of homemade one, and then we love like Kraft spirals. Delicious. Don't do that all the time though, because that's not the healthiest option. But yeah, if I'm really like, I want to just eat something delicious, mac and cheese. And then at this shop in town, they have these bacon wrapped jalapeno poppers that are just like cream cheese stuffed in a big ass jalapeno wrapped in bacon. And I'll grill those at the same time as the steaks to get the bacon, really black. Man, that sets it off.
I have like a 15-second story about those. I used to do barbecue competitions with my friends, and we had to do ribs, which we were not good at all. But then you one other thing that was like a special thing, they'd give you like a special ingredient for. So it might be like duck or something. And then like a side, or there'd be like other category, it'd either be like a dessert or a side or something. So for the side, my buddy who was with us was like, I'm going to do those, like the cream cheese jalapenos wrapped in bacon, and we smoked them. Yeah. We had never done this. And we were like 24. So he left all of the seeds in this shit. And people were coming to our little area because it's like 20 teams, and eating them and just miserable. And one dude straight up tried to fight him about it because his mouth was burning so bad. He was like, that guy made him. All right, dude, don't get on me.
Every once in a while, that shop here in town sneaks them in on us too, and it's hard to come back from. Yeah, you got to get the seeds out of there for sure. Tim, what's the song of the day, buddy?
Well, we're going to get into it, but I want to say next time we have steak talk, I think you have to have wine talk right after the steak. I'm just saying, but
I mean, well, the wine with the steak. I mean, you're going to probably want a big red cab, something like that. A Bordeaux.
Sure. Very bold for sure. So, song of the day here. I always try to turn people onto new bands and all that. Well, this is a band that's been around now. Let's see, in 27, so 2 more years, they're going to have their 50th anniversary. They are Rock and Roll Hall of Famers, and they just happen to be playing in my town this weekend. This is the band This is the band I've seen third most in my life. I love them live. The legendary Cheap Trick. I just can't get enough of them. See them about 20 times. I'll be 21 on Saturday, but they're still writing new music, which people wouldn't think of a band that are now in their early 70s that are actually putting out records. Well, they still make great freaking rock and roll albums, and this is one just from a few years ago. It's called Sick Man of Europe, and it's a rocker, so enjoy.
I thought this is where
Good. They sound good.
That was from a few years ago.
The Sun. Yeah. About 6-7 years ago. So they're still making records and live. They kind of do, Josh, like almost like what Pearl Jam does. It's like whatever they played the night before, forget about it. They pull anything out is playable on their set list. And if you hear the singer's Robin Zander, I'm telling you from watching different singers over the years, his vocal range may be 100% of what it was in the 70s. I mean, he hasn't lost a thing.
Wow.
And the guy still looks good. He's like just turned 71. Rick, the guitar player, just turned 75, and they're still out there like kids on stage. I mean, it's fantastic. So I'm very excited for Saturday night.
Man, that's awesome.
Birthday
Very
weekend
cool.
on top of that.
My only thing with that is, and I know they're having fun, I can't imagine wanting to tour at that age. Still, after having that much money.
Not only do they tour, they're doing over 100 shows a year at that
What the
age.
fuck?
Wow.
Very. And it's the three front guys are all original members. The only new member is the drummer.
Yeah.
And it happens to be Rick Nielsen's son who's drumming. So the other drummer couldn't keep up with them playing like 2-hour, 30-song sets anymore. So he literally quit the band because of that. So it's cool.
Wow.
And we have this amazing new venue. It's actually called the venue at a casino about 10 miles or 5 miles from here. It's this beautiful, like 3,500 seater, very modern facility. And it's one of those venues which I've never been in before, but it's like it only goes back a little bit and it just goes straight up. And it's really, really cool sounding. So that's my weekend.
Nice.
I'm excited.
Man, that's great, buddy. Yeah, my weekend coming up, not as exciting, although I do tomorrow night. Vic and I get a night off from the kids, staying in a hotel. We're going out to eat with some friends. That's a big deal for us. It's like, our
That
first
is
night.
a big
awesome.
deal. Sounds like baby number 4. I'll see him in 9 months, huh?
No, dude. Four gets hard. Four
Well-
gets it's a steep jump from 3 to 4. I'll tell you.
No,
Be safe, Josh.
I'm 4 is not coming. 3, we're stuck at 3, and that's where we're staying.
Yeah. Cool. Well, have
You
a great
guys-
time. Are you going to St. Louis? Is that what you're doing? Downtown St. Louis or something?
Yeah, not downtown, but Clayton.
Where you
Yep.
going?
Living the dream. Where are we
Oh,
staying?
Like
Dinner, Palmanos.
no, I
Yeah, you
haven't.
been
I've
there?
heard of it.
Dude, fire.
Really?
You gotta go.
All right.
Yes.
We don't go out for Valentine's Day at
that's
all,
awesome.
so I'm not doing it because it's always like really crowded. But we are doing on the 20th. So we always go out on the 22nd for some reason. Like our dating anniversary is the 17th. Then we have, but for some reason we just go out every year in 222.
Yeah.
And somehow we were looking up comedians, and we found out at a comedy club there's a traveling psychic who's big enough to sell out comedy club rooms. So we're gonna go there and see. That's
That'll
more
be
of Dawn's
nice.
speed than mine, but it'll be fun.
That'll be fun.
But we got a couple,
That sounds fun. Yeah.
another couple coming with us.
Don't let the psychic get her hands on you though, because
It's a dude.
sometimes you don't want to know. It's like I wish I wouldn't have known that.
No, it's better. You hear some people. It will
It's
never
good.
impact my life, but I've talked to people, and after they've had like a psychic experience, being like, "Well, now that they're upset about something, or they're going to change," it's like, stop, stop. Dude.
Right.
Like, don't
Yeah.
make life altering decisions based on that. Just have fun.
Well, have fun with that, Ryan. We're out of time. Appreciate you guys. See you next time.
Cheers. See you in 2 weeks.